Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to the first edition of the Capital Edge 2026 tip line. I'm Chad Braley, the CEO at Capital Edge, and excited to be back with you. Sorry for the pause a little bit in Q4 of 2025, but got a lot to talk about. And today we're going to break down a few key elements of the 2026 National Defense Authorization Act, which was signed into law in December 18th, actually, of 2025. And really going to focus on there's a whole bunch in here, right? So you're going to see this isn't going to be the first time that we're going to talk about the NDAA for 2026. So we'll have a few more coming in the series around that. But today we're going to kind of start with some of the regulatory and threshold changes, which are pretty big, right? So in Section 1804, we have a change that'll go effective June 30th of 2026, where the threshold for contractors to provide certified cost and pricing data is going to move from 2.5 million, which was the inflation adjusted threshold effective October 1st of 2025, to $10 million, again effective June 30th of 2026. So that's a pretty big deal, and is going to significantly reduce, I think, for a lot of the contractor community, especially on the manufacturing side, supply chain, where some of the contracts are of smaller value, to eliminate that need to certify that data, which is great. Also, what that does is, as part of this NDAA, it's also CAS and the CAS thresholds, right? Because the minimum CAS, contract value was also 2.5 million, coupled with TINA. Those have been decoupled, right, from a regulatory perspective, and we've been waiting on CAS, excuse me, CAS inflationary adjustments for years, and now we finally have them. So effective within 180 days of the enactment, right, of Section 1806 of the NDAA, the minimum CAS contract value is going to move to $35 million, right? There's no more trigger contract at 7.5 million. There's no more initial contract and then the value drops to two and a half or 2 million. It's now $35 million. Full CAS is now invoked at $100 million. So for those of you who are, and again, this is going to be 120 days for DoD, 180 essentially for everybody else. So we're looking at into Q1, but primarily June kind of time frame for most of the agencies. So if you're looking at a contract that's potentially you're bidding on, that's going to be awarded after June of 2026, from a CAS threshold perspective, you're looking at 35 million for modified and 100 million for full CAS. So those are big differences, right? And yet at the same time, the statistics show that about 90% of the contract dollars, right, subject to CAS will likely remain, but will eliminate this need for a lot of contractors kind of in that middle level, which is fantastic. The other big thing from a cost accounting standards perspective is the fact that was very clear, right? The government may not recover costs greater than the aggregate increased cost as defined by the board, meaning the CAS board, on relevant contracts subject to the price adjustment. And it allows for contractors to net multiple cost accounting changes against each other within a year. And the government is not entitled to recoup more than the aggregate increased cost across as a result of that netting, right? Right. We've historically been in every single change, right, gets looked at individually. This is going to make the cost accounting practice changes, cost impacts resulting from that a lot cleaner with the ability to net those. And the other big thing here is that basically any contract type that's not price redeterminable based on cost, think firm fixed price contracts, are no longer included in that cost impact analysis. And that's always been a major sticking point. Obviously, we have a history of case law around that. And then, certainly last but not least, a couple other things CAS related, and then we'll come back with some other NDA hot topics in the next session. The CAS board is now going to be comprised of five members, right? The OFPP administrator, right? A DoD representative appointed by the Secretary of War, a member of GSA appointed by the administrator of GSA, and then two other private sector appointees that are appointed by the director of OMB. One of those is going to be from industry, one of those is going to be from the accounting profession. And then there will also be an additional two non-voting board members, either from academia, a nonprofit organization, or some sort of private entity. And last but not least, effective January 1st of 2028, so just under 2 years to go, the Defense Contract Audit Agency will no longer have a representative on the CAS board effective again 1/1/28. So and I don't know. Some may disagree. To me, that makes a lot of sense, right? You're helping to promulgate regulations, which you then get to go audit. So it looks like the board and Congress, have kind of looked at that and said, maybe that doesn't make sense anymore, and we might need to have some other people involved." So a lot of interesting changes. I know some of you maybe have read the NDAA. I hope it didn't put you to sleep. I read some of it until I went to sleep, but a lot of interesting things happening right in the industry, and we want to make sure that we continue to keep you informed on what's going on, and we'll be back soon with some more updates. So look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.